Hi everyone, it's Tina and welcome back to my channel where I ask you to picture what financial freedom looks like to you and we talk about ways to get there. Today I'm going to give you 6 ways that you can protect yourself as a landlord. The most important thing that you need to have, and this is number 1, is to have a lease prepared for your state. I strongly encourage that you speak with a lawyer who's familiar with the local rental laws. You can go online and get some pre-made leases, but to be perfectly honest with you, what confidence do you have that that's going to meet all of the criteria set forth by your state? Since you won't know what all of those criteria are, but a lawyer would, definitely reach out to a lawyer. It's somebody that you should have in your network anyway, and it's worth the money. Typically, it will cost you between $300 and $600 to get a lease made depending on how much your lawyer costs. I previously was told that if you can find a very young lawyer just starting out his practice, you might, or her practice, you might have a better chance of getting a discounted rate and actually being grandfathered into lower rates for the life of the relationship with that lawyer while you build your network. In both of the states that my husband and I owned rental property, so previously Minnesota and now Missouri, we absolutely have had a lawyer prepare our leases. In Minnesota, it was a much more tenant-friendly state, and it made it much more difficult for the landlord to, say, evict a tenant or hold a tenant accountable to damage done. In Missouri, it's a more landlord-friendly state. Similarly, when we were in Colorado, we were not a landlord, but we were tenants at one point, and the lease there was structured differently than both the lease we have now and the lease we had in Minnesota. So it is our strong recommendation, my husband and I both agree, that getting a lease for the state that you're in prepared by a lawyer who practices in the state that you're in is one of the best things and probably the number 1 thing that you can do to protect yourself as a landlord. Number 2, make sure that you do background checks and referral checks on your tenants. I mentioned this as part of my screening tenants video, but to be perfectly honest with you, a person's history can be a strong indicator of their character, and their character is what will probably be the most important quality of whether or not they're going to have the habits that make them a reliable and strong tenant. So having that background check and having the credit check are both important because they give you a perspective on what that person's history is like. This does not need to be the end-all be-all. For example, they might have a bad credit check but have amazing referrals from both employers and prior landlords. You have to take what you find with some consideration for the full picture, but the bottom line is you really need to do some investigation on your tenants and not just take the first Yahoo that applies, which ironically we did, but we didn't just take them as Yahoos. We did the background checks and the referral checks as well. It just worked out for us that they also happened to be the first individuals who applied. Item number 3 is requiring the tenant to have rental insurance. We have actually put this into our lease. This is not required by Missouri state law, but we put it into our lease anyway because we felt it was important that should anything happen to their belongings, we did not want them to think that because we are the owners of the property, we're responsible for their material items. The truth is, we wouldn't be even if they didn't have rental insurance, but it was something we wanted to make explicitly clear to them as we reviewed the lease with them, that it is on them to protect their own belongings. That is not part of, our landlord insurance, for example. And because of that, we not only made a requirement of the lease, we also required that they give us evidence of the fact that they have landlord insurance. So we needed to see a copy of the policy that they had activated. Hand in hand with that, number 4 is landlords insurance. Frankly, you would need to have this for property insurance anyway. Most people, if you have a mortgage on your investment property or your rental property, that will get paid for as part of your mortgage. It's not actually part of your mortgage, but your mortgage service provider will typically escrow a few things, and that would include your property taxes and your property insurance. In this case, the property insurance would be landlord's insurance. Item number 5 is to create some sort of a business entity that would own the business. In our case, we created a limited liability corporation, set it up as a partnership between my husband and I. The reason that we did that was because we wanted to ensure that if something did go haywire, if we did have a tenant that came after us and tried to sue us, they couldn't sue us because the lease and all of our interactions with them have been done from the framework of the business. Therefore, if something does go wrong and they do try to come after us in any way through litigation, they really have to come after the business, and that protects our personal property. The property for the rental itself is actually in our name. So the property of the rental and the property, our personal property, so like our home, our cars, our other assets, are all in our personal names. Therefore, if they tried to sue us, they could only sue us up to what the business owns. And right now, all the business owns is what is in our business checking account. Incidentally, that LLC was prepared by a lawyer as well, because we wanted to ensure that it was formalized in a way that also aligned with the requirements for the state of Missouri, so that we did everything properly, so that we had that absolute protection. And then item number 6 is to have quarterly maintenance checks. Because we do our own property management, we do those maintenance checks ourselves, but you could absolutely hire a property manager and require that of them. The thing that you're looking for here is just to have a set of eyes on the interior of the property every 3 months or so. Of course, we inform the tenant. We don't just show up out of the blue. This is a scheduled thing. But if there is significant damage being done to the property, this is a great way to scope that out. So by doing these quarterly maintenance checks, not only are we ensuring that the furnace filters get changed and that we're having a conversation with the tenant about any minor repairs that maybe are being overlooked by them because it's not that big of a deal, we are also getting a set of eyes to look at the overall condition of the property. Are they taking good care of it? Is there any wear and tear on the exterior of the building that might have happened from a storm or some inclement weather that you need to address? And truly, I tell you, just like with vehicles, it's the same for real estate. If you find problems and you fix them early on, they will be less expensive to correct than if you let it snowball and get worse over time. Then you've got some kind of a money pit situation. So the regular checks help make sure that the tenant's taking good care of your property, because even though they live there, it is your property and you want to make sure that it's well maintained, but it's also giving you that opportunity to get the lay of the land and find out if there's anything that you need to be correcting so that you can take care of it while it's still less expensive. All right, friends, there you have it. Those are my 6 tips to protect yourself as a landlord. If you have any tips, please set them below. I would love to see them in the comments, because I'm always learning how to improve my own practices. And frankly, I just want to thank all of you guys for watching this video. If you're new, please subscribe. And if you are returning, I really appreciate it. Have a great day, everyone.